Good day and welcome to our second virtual open day of 2020. I am Etienne Depree, a photography lecturer at Potchefstroom Academy. You are currently signed in the photography information session. We are pleased to see you all here and excited to hopefully meet you all in person next year. Our marketing department will be in contact with you the next week to complete your application. Potchefstroom Academy in Saast is situated in Potchefstroom, a vibrant student town. The student-friendly environment ensures that our students remain engaged in learning while providing them with the opportunity of getting involved in recreation and social events. Students get to meet interesting people in various industries and share experiences to last a lifetime. The Academy ensures that our students are prepared for the future and have the necessary skills to succeed as an employer or employee. Furthermore, Potchefstroom Academy has a keen interest in conditioning our country's future entrepreneurs. We educate our students by providing them with the relevant insights and advice on how to successfully market their skills and services through entrepreneurial pursuits. Our campus is conveniently situated within walking distance from all the Academy's residence facilities, nearby shopping malls, sport and recreation facilities, and restaurants. Safe parking is available at the residences and next to the campus. Our presenter for today is Mr. Wesley Wallace, Head of the Photography Department. If you have any questions, kindly wait until the end of the session to ask it in the comment section or raise your hand. If you have a low internet bandwidth, please switch off your camera and also remember to mute your microphone. Please note that we have all the necessary COVID-19 protocols in place, and we wish to welcome all prospective students and their parents to visit our campus. All our contact details, further information, and a virtual tour of our campus are available on our website at www.potchacademy.co.za. Lastly, we would like to ask anyone attending today's session on a cell phone to please turn your screen horizontal to view the session. I hope you enjoyed the session with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Wesley, as you've all heard, and welcome to our live session from the photography department inside our studio at Potchefstroom Academy. Today, I'll be giving you guys a brief rundown as to what our qualification consists of. We have a 2-year qualification that runs with a first-year high certificate in photography, and our second year is an advanced certificate photography. These qualifications are full-time and run from the beginning of the year right until the end of the year with the respective holidays in between. So in order to get a better understanding of the qualification, we're going to run through and we're going to do some breakdowns for you as to exactly why you have to study all these things. Now, we have numerous amounts of subjects. A lot of people think that photography is just point and shoot. There is a lot more to the industry than just what meets the eye. In our first year, we will then be giving you guys the basic foundations right up to intermediate forms of photography to express yourself through your work. In the advanced certificate in photography, we will then allow you to further specialize within the career choices that you want. In photography, there are many, many career opportunities. It is the digital age. Everything that we see is always photography. If you think about it, there is so much out there, so much. You can even ask yourself, what industry doesn't actually need photography? If you go onto a web page, there is just photos of everyone. So the need for photography is abundant. And the career opportunities that you can have, as you see on the screen, is commercial, newspaper, magazine photographers, photo editing and retouching, picture editors, studio photographers, professional photographic assistants, photographic retail representatives, or even laboratory assistants. And the list goes on. So throughout the photography and the qualification, throughout your first year and your second year, these are the subjects that you're going to be looking at. We'll look at technical theory of photography, digital media, visual literacy, professional photography, graphic design, applied photography, communication and listening skills, business practice, computer practice, and work integrated learning. Now, that's quite a big mouthful, but what we're quickly going to do is quickly touch bases with each subject to show you and explain to you the topics that we're going to discuss and to why we actually do it. So as we go through, I'll give you a brief description on every single subject, and then I also want to show you some of our student work that we currently do. All these images that you see throughout the presentation are done directly from our first year and second year students. So yes, they do look professional, and pretty much they are. So technical theory of photography is in your first year, in your higher certificate. This module comprises of technical theory, right? All the technical components, all the equipment, your tools of the trade. So you'll be looking at your lenses, your cameras, the electronic and the mechanic mechanisms, and the lighting equipment that you'll be using as a photographer. We need to understand the basics to form a foundation so that we can grow as a photographer. And as we explore the equipment, we will then learn how to explore light. Without light, we cannot see. So we need to know how to control light. And that is one of the most key aspects of photography. And the technical equipment does that for you. In the photographs below, you can see these are all taken from our students. These are assignments that we give out. Every single time we discuss a point inside our theory subjects, we will then give them out a brief, as we call it, as you would receive from a client one day. These are all different types of assignments. You'll see that the one image on the left is black on black, the image on the right is white on white, and the one in the middle is food photography. In advanced theory, we'll be looking at more advanced techniques in photography. Everybody wants to buy the next best lens. Everybody wants to buy the next best camera. We don't know why. Why do you want to do it? Is it a cool factor? No. It all has to do with the technology inside the camera. We'll be looking at stuff as information processors, focusing technologies, sensor technologies, camera systems, formats, and lens evolution. These will make you a better photographer in your specific field of photography. We need to understand the equipment in order to apply the technologies fundamentally. Over here, you can see we've had 3 different photographs over here. All these images fall underneath a more fine art approach, yet they all have technical specifications that one needs to apply in order to get these results. You'll see that there's a lot of movement in the photography, meaning that the images are not clear and crisp. This type of movement is called ICM, right? Intentional camera movement. And one can see that on images that are crisp and clear, but they're definitely beautiful. One of our other subjects is digital media. In digital media, it's all about the workflow or the post-production of images. We have access to over 30 iMacs on our campus. We use our top-of-the-range software. We look in Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop all here on campus for you. We will teach you the difference between visual enhancement and non-destructive editing. Some of the topics that we'll address is luminance and color selections, layers, and masking. That all has to do with brightness and colors, and that is so important. But we need to understand basic steps to go towards intermediate and advanced editing techniques. Over here, you can see the images that we have now used. On the left-hand side, you're looking at a cover design or a slide cover design, more of a Vogue look and feel. You'll see that there's text in there. That will fall then underneath graphic design, which we'll discuss just now. You'll see in the middle images, we've used a combination of images over there, and it's not simply just one photograph, there's a lot more to it. On the right, we're looking at interpretation of an image. That would fall underneath visual literacy. But these are assignments that our students have done. In advanced digital media, we need to look at the detailed understanding of the application of graphic design in the industry of photography. The topics that we'll discuss is advanced raw processing and workflow, smart objects, color grading, stacks and grouping, and advanced HDR, high dynamic range, and layer techniques. These will all be done inside the Mac computer room via our lecturer, Cherie, and we will be using Adobe Illustrator and InDesign. This particular image falls then underneath advanced digital media and advanced technical theory. As we look at the image over there, you'll notice that there's pink hues and blue hues. That is infrared photography. Now, infrared photography is mainly done with film, so we don't have access to it, but we'll teach you the editing techniques required. If you look at the image, there's also a blur to the image, or we created intentional movement. That is also called ICM. So we will teach you how to combine the techniques to create this particular type of visual. In digital media and advanced theory of photography, we'll teach you the spilling effect. That is exactly what you see here. This particular image can consist up to about 10 images at least. We will teach you this in the second year of your photography. In visual literacy, the students will have to learn an understanding of how to communicate through their photography. The topics that we discuss will be composition, visualizing, formal analysis, or interpreting of photographs. The factors that will influence your perception of images, the history of contemporary photography, and visual diaries and planning, which is key to any shoot that you do in the industry. We will be looking at the building blocks of photography, such as shape, shadow, texture, and form, just to name a few. You can see in this particular image, a lot of planning was done in this photograph. This was a high fashion, something white, and you can see a lot of effort was put into this. But this image would have not resulted this way if there was not correct planning. In this particular image, this would then fall underneath fine art, but also a lot of planning, a lot of conceptual planning and ideas generation needed over here. In advanced visual literacy, we look at modern digital age photographers. We are looking at who we are and how we are spoilt for choice simply by just clicking away. We will have to then investigate and really look at seeing the elementary act of photography. We'll also then be discussing techniques in photography, that how they have evolved over the years. We'll look at the history, the visual perception, the psychology and the philosophy of photographers and their work. All those will be applied in your assignments as you progress as a student in your second year of photography. This is a documentary photography image. The student went out, did a full personal project, and her images were simply based on firemen creating fire breaks in the veld around the Northwest. In professional photography, the students will study commercial photography as a whole. These will then include genres such as people, and people is extremely diverse and a very wide genre. We will discuss wedding photography, portrait photography, and fashion, just to name a few. We're also looking at nature, landscapes, still life. We're looking at product photography, advertising photography, fine arts, and sport, just to name a few. As we explore these genres, we'll identify the top photographers in the industry, national and internationally. We also have you assist you to price yourself, should I say, price yourself. Excuse me, there was a noise. How to price yourself and how to quote yourself accordingly in the market. So if you look at these images over here, these are more commercial-based images where you see the image on the left is a wine bottle, that is a still life. We're going to do a very, very similar demonstration for you inside our second session after myself. The middle image is portraiture or fashion, and then the third image is food photography. And these are all some of the assignments that we give out to our students. In advanced professional photography, we look at the business and financial skills of a photographer. Everybody loves being a photographer, everybody loves taking pictures, but at the end of the day, you've got to sell your product. You've got to sell yourself to the client. So what we will do is discuss setting up fees, negotiation processes, contracts, copyrights, client care, and the students will then develop strategies and tactics for surviving in the flourishing and continuously developing photography industry. This particular image, this was done as an event. In this particular event, it was a car rally spin-off, and as you can see over there, a lot of technical settings are actually applied to this, and it mainly includes your fastest shutter speed. Graphic design. In graphic design, we look at the core components of combining imagery and text, typography and layout. We'll take assignments, you'll take the photographs, we'll put them together, and then you're going to combine the images all together to create things such as letterheads. You can create your own CVs, design your own logos for your own brand identity. You're going to design page spreads, magazine covers, and that's just to name a few. The software that you'll be using is InDesign and Illustrator. This particular assignment was done on one of our first year tours. We go out and we do tours throughout the year. In this particular assignment, we did panning in the early morning. You'll notice that it is a slightly slower shutter speed, and that creates the movement of blur. In advanced graphic design, we'll look at editorial layouts, typography concepts, brand identity, design, packaging design, and the assembly of a professional portfolio. In this particular assignment, you can see that this is the spilling effect. Logos were set in, and this forms part of graphic design and advanced theory of photography and advanced applied photography. In applied photography, this is the biggest subject, and this is why you're going to be here to take photographs. In applied photography, you'll receive assignments throughout the year from all our different theory and practical classes. You will have over 40 assignments that you will have to continuously develop and achieve throughout the year. At the end of the year, you'll have a commercial portfolio, which will then be moderated by internal and external moderators. You'll also develop 3 personal projects throughout the year, those of your choice. You may explore any genre of photography that you want. You may even combine them. At the end of the year, we also have an exhibition where there is bragging rights for all your hard work that you have done throughout the year. The exhibition is open to the public, and anybody can come and see it. Below, you see on the left-hand image, we have more food photography, and the image on the right is a fine art nude. You can see that the detail in lighting and the understanding of lighting and the planning through visual literacy really assisted in that image. In advanced applied photography, we throw you into the deep end. We create real-life scenarios. You take your basic foundation and your basic intermediate skills, and you apply them to the real world industry trends. We throw in scenarios that one would then possibly come across when you are in the industry. The techniques that you use are a lot more advanced than in your first year. This particular image, you will see it's landscape photography. However, there is an infrared aspect added to it. This particular assignment was called negative space. This assignment is a pinhole. We will teach you how to actually take a photograph without a lens. This particular assignment is called a Maplethorpe flower. Now, after applying all your theory and going through all your theory classes in the year, our last main photography subject would then be work integrated learning. Now, work integrated learning means that you will then have to work in the industry as a photographer. You'll work as a photographer for our studio. You'll do a certain amount of shoots throughout the year, where there'll be model portfolios, events, and family shoots. The other part of the work integrated hours is simply assisting another photographer in the industry of your choice. That is fantastic. By doing that, you will learn all the real world skills as a photographer in the industry, tips, techniques, and all the experience that will contribute to your studies. In your first year, we have generic subjects. Communication and listening skills that will assist in your verbal and written communication. It will then help you to compile a CV, how to conduct yourself in an interview. It will also give you the advantages of how to use social media to best suit you. We'll assist you in writing a paper. We'll assist you in terms of referencing and plagiarism. Business practice. This module is essential skills and needed for the thriving business. This is not photography specific, but industry related. We will have discussions of introduction to entrepreneurship, ideas and opportunities, management skills, finance skills, marketing skills, legal skills, and then the big one is the business plan. The business plan will assist you in creating your business after your studies. In addition, you will also receive a certificate from the Northwest University on completion of all the modules. Another subject we have is computer practice. We get you started with Microsoft Office. This includes Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint, which is pretty much what I'm using here. I want to say thank you for your time. I know it's a lot of information to simply take in, but next we would like to demonstrate to you what a studio assignment would look like. So what we would do, this is an example of a brief that we would give you, and it's going to be a studio assignment where they will then have to go out, do the studio. There's a process and workflow. Thank you very much. Your next lecturers will be Mr. Etienne Dupré. He'll be the technical studio photographer. Then we'll have Ms. Nicolene Gonzalez. She will be assisting in the digital media workflow. And then Ms. Cherie Cordier, who is then the graphic design lecturer, and she will assist you with the final product. Thank you very much. Enjoy your videos.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to our information session this afternoon. My name is Etienne, and I teach first-year technical theory, professional photography, applied photography, and then also second-year professional photography, visual literacy, digital media, as well as applied photography. For this afternoon's demonstration, we are going to show you guys the process of a studio product shoot, from the initial setup to capturing the images, then through the editing or post-production, and as well as the final layout for the final product. Well, the studio is an incredibly fun place to work as we have full control over lighting, as well as the creative concept to comply with our brief that we receive from our client. Right, now the first thing we need to talk about is modifying lights. In the studio, we will be using artificial light, and this has its very own specific characteristics and qualities, but we want to be able to change and modify those qualities. Now, at the moment, you guys are looking at some soft boxes, and we will also be using things like snoots and barn doors to change the quality of light to suit the creative concept that we want to achieve with our image. Now, in studio photography, it's really important that we build the light very slowly and methodically. So we will start off by one single light source, which is a softbox, which you guys can see at the moment, placed towards the back of the bottle that we are photographing. And this will create a nice, beautiful rim light. Now in the studio, we will be showing you guys how to use something called an incident light meter, and this will tell us the settings to use on the camera for correct exposure for the artificial light sources. So we'll take an initial light meter reading and then apply those settings onto the camera. Right, once we've done that, we can then compose, focus, take our photograph, and then we can see the result that we just captured. Right, so you guys can see we've got a beautiful rim light running down the edge of the bottle, emphasizing and complementing the shape of the bottle. Right, so the next step now would be introduce an additional light source. This is a second softbox, and the idea with this light source is to create a bit of detail on the front of the label on the bottle. Right, so we'll focus, compose, take our second shot, and if we take a look at the result, you guys will notice that we've now got still the beautiful edge and rim light on the glass on the bottle, but a bit more detail on the label itself. It's important to notice though that if we zoom in, these edges are extremely harsh and hard, and that's something that we want to try and avoid in this kind of photography. So to remedy that, what we're going to do is to introduce another light modifying device in the form of a diffusion panel, which we are simply going to place in front of the softbox. We're starting off again just with a single softbox, just to create that rim light again. And you guys can already see just with our eyes that we've got a much softer edge on the bottle. So we'll take an additional light meter reading because we've introduced an additional layer of material. We are losing a bit of intensity of light, and we can see that we have lost about one stop of light. So we'll apply these new settings to the camera, compose, focus, take our second shot, and we will see we've got a beautiful soft edge, and that is exactly what we are looking for in this kind of product photography. Right, so the next step would now be to add a bit more detail onto the label again. And we'll do exactly the same as we did previously. We'll simply introduce a second softbox placed slightly towards the front of the bottle. And this will give us that beautiful detail on the label itself. All right, so we don't need to take an additional light meter reading because the light source is on the exact same settings. And if we take our next shot, we will see that again, we've got the beautiful soft highlight running down the side of the bottle with our detail on the label itself. Right now, you guys will notice in this image that the liquid in the bottle itself is quite dark. And if we pan around towards the left, you guys will see that as soon as we introduce a light source behind the bottle, we can then see the beautiful color from the liquid. Now, to correct this problem from the camera's perspective, the only thing that we're going to do is very simply place a small little yellow reflector behind the bottle so that it bounces back the light from the light sources. And there we can see we've now got beautiful detail coming through the bottle. Right, so we'll take an additional shot. And this is starting to look really beautiful. Right, now you guys will notice that the left side of the label is still a little bit dark, and to fix this we are going to be using a light modifying device called a snoot. And the snoot is a very selective and directional light modifying device, and it allows us to place just a little bit of light exactly on the label and nowhere else on the bottle. We'll take an additional light meter reading, and we can see that the settings match exactly with the camera settings that we are currently using. So we can focus, compose, take an additional shot, and we will now see that we've got beautiful detail on the bottle itself. Right, so this is looking really good. The next step would be to add a bit of separation on the black background, just to make the bottle stand out from the background. And to do this, we are going to be introducing an additional light modifying device called a barn door, and this barn door is fitted with a honeycomb as well. And as soon as we pan around, you guys will see the honeycomb as well. This just gives a bit more direction to the light and also creates a beautiful soft feather on the edge of the light source. So once again, we're going to take a light meter reading and make sure that the settings match with what we are using on the camera. All right, there we go. And we are almost done. Things are looking really good, and we can now see the separation on the background. Now, the final thing to do is to get some liquid in the glass as well, and we obviously don't want to open up our bottle and pour out the liquid. So what we do is we use a rooibos tea bag in some cold water, and we create some fake whiskey in the glass. Right, so there's our final image, and this image is raw, straight out of the camera. And just a quick little teaser for you guys as well. I'll show you guys the final edited version. There we go, looking absolutely beautiful. And Nicolene will take you through this process in the next section. All right, thank you very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.
Hello everybody, I'm Nicolene. I am a photography lecturer at Potchefstroom Academy, and I am not playing. Hello everybody, I am Nicolene. I'm a photography lecturer at Potchefstroom Academy, and I am going to show you one of the many ways to retouch this photograph. We opened it up in Adobe Photoshop, and one of the ways we are going to start is making a duplicate layer with the keyboard shortcut Command J. We do this to ensure that we are not damaging any original pixels. On this layer, we will only be doing retouching. For example, like removing dust particles or highlights in the bottle that we don't necessarily want. So I'm going to double click on the layer, relabel it, call it retouch. And then go straight to my patch tool with the keyboard shortcut Command or only J. So I'm going to zoom into the blemish I want to remove, freehandly draw a line around the blemish. As soon as the two lines connect, it will change into a selection. So we are going to click inside the selection, click and hold, move the selection outside to an area with perfect texture and color. So what Photoshop does is it takes the texture and color and mixes it to patch the area you want to remove. When retouching, pay special attention to lines, or else you will start noticing edit errors. Just like that. And now you see I have a perfect straight line. We're going to leave that black part for later. Like this as well. You will see I am aligning it with a similar line so that the line is continuous and you don't see any errors. Now the patch tool is usually used for large areas. For example, if you want to remove a window from a building. Quickly going to edit out the reflections of the bottle in the glass, the dust particle, and then the reflection. Great. Now we are going to use the clone tool. Now the clone tool uses Alt to sample. So I'm going to zoom into the blemish I want to remove. Hold in Alt to sample areas that you want to copy. So it literally copies and pastes. So I'm going to hold in Alt, look for an area that is exactly similar to the way I want the patch to be. Okay, this area seems fine. So I'm just going to click with holding Alt, and then I'm going to move my brush and place it over the blemish I want to remove. Click once or twice, and then the blemish is gone, and you can't see any edit areas or lines of the brush. So I'm just going to remove that. Usually when I use my clone tool, I go over it with my patch tool just to ensure perfect texture and color. Okay, now we are going to zoom into the label and go to another tool called the Spot Healing tool. We are going to add some highlights over here, but first we need to clean the label. So we are going to go to the Spot Healing brush tool, select the, zoom in a bit. You want to make sure that your brush is just a bit bigger than the blemish you want to remove. Then Photoshop takes the information around the brush and adds it inside the brush to remove the blemish. Now this is used for small details like dust particles or scratches. I won't recommend this for using it close to lines. I will show you an example what happens when you do. For example, let's try to fix the H. And then it creates a blob. So I'm going to go back to my clone tool, make my brush a bit smaller, Alt to sample, and then simply just click to fix my H again. I'm going to go back to my Spot Healing brush tool, and I'm just going to remove that small little line. There we have a perfect H again. Okay, as you notice, the image is a bit skew, so I'm going to crop using the keyboard shortcut C. I'm going to click and there will be borders. I'm going to move my mouse outside the border and then it will change into this bending arrow. And then you can simply pull the mouse up or down and it will rotate the way you pull it. Confirm the crop. It's a bit skew still. There we go. Confirm the crop. And now it's perfect and straight. I'm going to create a stamp visible layer with Shift Alt Command E. And I'm going to rename it, maybe call it highlights, because we are going to add highlights into the label now. Then I'm going to select my polygonal tool. Now the polygonal tool only works with straight lines. As you will notice, as I am drawing the lines, it's already straight. Just finish the, there we go. Now it's into a selection. Make sure you're on additive selection, and I am on 50 pixels of feathering. Now feathering is, as soon as I draw the lines, you notice that it is straight, it's sharp, the corners is sharp. But as soon as I close the selection, it appears round. That is exactly what feathering does. I'm just going to select a part of the label at the bottom as well. Bring some light in there. Perfect. Now I'm going to make a copy of the selection using the keyboard shortcut Command J. Now the selection is on its own layer. So whatever I do to this layer, it would only affect the selection. I'm renaming it selection. Then I'm going to go to my blending modes, go down to screen. Now screen lightens pixels. I don't want it that harsh, so I'm going to go to my opacity, bring it down a bit to let's say 70, let's say 65. 65 seems fine. Here's the before and after of the polygonal tool and the selection and the screen that we put on. Perfect, I am happy. Now we are going to create another stamp visible layer with Shift-Alt-Command-E. And I'm going to relabel it, call it blur. We are going to add some blur onto only the glass. So we are going to go up to filter, down to blur gallery, down to tilt shift, and then Photoshop will take you to this window. Now we have dotted lines, straight line, and another dotted line at top. So whatever is beyond the dotted line is completely out of focus, it blurs. So we are going to add some blur. Whatever is in between the solid lines are pin sharp, and we want to place that over the bottle because we don't want any blur effect on the bottle. So we are going to rotate the whole tool. There we go, place it over the bottle. There we go. Now we are going to go to the blur slider and then just add a bit of blur. Just like that, confirm the settings. And there we have it. The glass is blurred. We are going to add an adjustment layer called levels. This is our three sliders. So one is shadows, midtones, and highlights. So I'm going to take my highlight slider and move it a bit towards the left-hand side so that it brightens the whole image. Make sure that you are clicked on your top layer, hold in Shift, click on the bottom layer, use your keyboard shortcut for Command G, put it in a group, and there you have your before and after. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your time.
Hi everyone, I am Cherie and I am the graphic design lecturer at Potchefstroom Academy. Okay, so the reason for this graphic design video is to show you how that you can actually use the visual content that you create in different photography subjects in a final graphic design product. We will also be showing you how to actually use different Adobe programs to get to a final result. But before we get to a final result, it's really important to remember that with every graphic design project, there is a creative process. So you will learn this throughout your first year at Potchefstroom Academy as well, how to identify a target audience, how to know which content to add to a design, and also how to identify a color palette that would be attractive to that specific target audience. So let's say that you have already gone through all of this creative process and that we can start to design. Okay, so firstly we're going to work on Photoshop. We're going to make a selection to separate the content from the background so we can actually insert a different background. So we're going to do a quick selection to make sure that all of the small details are actually selected and that it is neat. So we're going to quickly do a fast forward because this is a tedious process and it does take some time. So I'm just quickly going to run through it so we can save time to get to everything. We refine our selection, and as soon as we are done with this, we copy it to a second layer, a separate layer. Once we're done with the bottle, we do exactly the same with the glass. So the glass was a little more difficult to actually do because it doesn't really have that refined edge. Okay, so now we are going to add the background. So when we add the background, we go to our blending modes and put it on overlay. We're also going to bring down the opacity a bit. Now we're going to copy that exact layer to put on the surface that the content is actually standing on. So, but we need to change the perspective in order for it to look as realistic as possible. So that's the whole point of doing all of these fine details, to make sure that it actually, the final product looks as realistic as possible. So we use our perspective warp, draw a grid around it, and we change the perspective. As soon as we are done with this, we go to the same blending modes and apply an overlay. So we're going to keep doing this for the glass as well. Going to copy the new background we have just inserted, copy it, and make a small selection on the glass. Just lower the opacity so we can see where the glass is at. Make a small selection and make a copy. So now we're just going to use a warp tool to change the perspective around the glass. We're going to do a fast forward in this as well, again, because this takes some time to actually complete. We need to spend a bit more time on the small details. So we're going to do exactly the same on the bottle, but this time we are going to use a soft brush to delete the background content from the label, because we will only be able to see this through the glass, so not through the top. And there you have it. So for the design, we need to add a logo as well. So you will see the logo has a white background that we're going to use, that we need to remove because we are working on a dark photo. So we need to change the color of the logo to avoid any readability issues. So we're going to select the background, remove it, then do a selection of the logo to change the color based on the color scheme that we want to use in our final design. So we select our color, and then we just color the logo to fit into the design. Okay, and that's more or less how it's going to look. So once we're done with this, we go over to Illustrator. So there's the original design and the new design. So I've already created a bit of content to save us some time. So that is the top logo that we have just edited on Photoshop. So we did a clipping mask on it. So the O of oak heart actually bleeds off of the design. So you can use the original logo, or you can create a custom logo with a quote that fits in with the aesthetics of the brand. The best part of the game isn't always the game. So just to make it a bit more unique as well. But for now, for this tutorial, we're going to use the original logo, and we're going to add the quote in a smaller text just underneath that logo that bleeds off of the page. Move it up again to avoid any readability issues. So we want to keep it on the black so it's easy to read. I also created this bar for us to place content in for the same reason, and to not place text on the image itself so we don't have any readability issues. So we're going to do this clean stroke at the bottom to add in content so it's easy to see and to read. Just place everything next to each other. We're going to go to our swatches panel and change the color of it and place it in that small strip. So now we're going to select both of them to make sure that it's neatly centered aligned. This takes some time as well. So once we're done with that, we're going to do the alignment on the top design as well. Select the logo, place your ruler, and select the content just beneath the logo to make sure that everything is neatly centered, aligned. And there's our final design. So once we have the final design, we take it over to Photoshop again. to put it in a mock-up. So we put it in a final mock-up to see how it will actually function in real life, to see how it would look like if it is a poster in a pub or in a bar, in the shop, to see how it would actually look. So we take our final design that we have exported as a JPEG and we place it into our mock-up template on Photoshop. So once we have placed it, we save it, and if we go to, just to skip a few steps, if we go to our final mock-up, this is more or less what you are going to see. And there is our final design from the photo to the final graphic design rendering. So we look forward to seeing you in class next year and actually teaching you how to do this. Hope you enjoyed it.
So there you have one of our assignments that we give out. That is the first year assignment that we have. There'll be plenty more of those throughout the duration of the year. So please, any questions? You simply just type them out there for us and we'll direct your question accordingly. Alda, Gerrit Verliende, anything from you, Gerrit? Anybody else? So are there any written theory tests or any practical exams? Yes, there are a lot of written theory tests. In order for us to understand the theory, we need to go through it, we study the content of it, and then as we go through theory, we have to apply the theory. That's the exciting part. So as we go through the theory, you will have tests throughout the year. We have a test week 1, we have our mid-year exams, and test week 2, and then our final exams, just like any other university. Yes, you will be able to work overseas. Photography is a skill, it's an occupational skill. You'll have your qualification and a very good, let's say, personal portfolio and a commercial portfolio as well. Gwen, I see you have a Canon 450D. That is more than adequate for the course. I would just recommend that you have 2 lenses. Do you have 2 lenses? The one lens usually sold to the kit is a 1855 and then a 55 to 200 mm. Waiting for more questions. Gwen, did that answer your question? Good. If there are any other questions that you didn't think of now, you're more than welcome to please send it to Potchefstroom Academy. We're looking at info@potchefstroomacademy.co.za. My email address is wesley@potchacademy.co.za. And we have photography2@potchacademy.co.za and photographystudio@potchacademy.co.za. Marika, the classes are mainly presented in English. This is due to the information that we receive and the content that we receive. Most of the textbooks we receive are from overseas in Europe, so the terminologies that we use are English. However, 90% of our students are Afrikaans, and they are doing perfectly well here, and you're more than welcome to write the tests and exams in Afrikaans as well. When your daily schedule, you'll have class. Our classes start at 7:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to have class 8 hours a day. Sometimes there are 2 subjects a day, sometimes there are 1 subject a day. In between, we have lunch. You'll have studio practical sessions. When you don't have class, you can do research on our computers. You're more than welcome to use the computer room or even book studio shoots as well. We don't open on public holidays. You'll take taken off on those days as well. So there's a lot of time for student activities as well in student life. You may apply for cruise ships. I see there's a question for cruise ships. There is an agency here in Koch. Once you've completed your qualifications, you can go through the agency and they can give you more details as to how to apply for a photography position. You'll notice that we mentioned a lot of stuff, and it sounds like a lot of work, but with a lot of hard work, also a lot of fun. It is a really exciting course. We will always keep you busy, and it really is great. It really is great. We have a good team here, we have a good culture, and we have lots of fun while working extremely hard. So Gwen, I think the daily schedule, I think I've answered that question for you, if you are happy with that. Okay, I don't see any more questions. With regards to equipment, before we close, I just want to mention that you do need to purchase your own DSLR camera. I do have a here by Gwen. You mentioned you've got a 450D. Recommended 2 lenses, a slightly shorter wide one and a slightly longer one. I would recommend that you also purchase an external hard drive, preferably a 1 terabyte, and then at least more than 1 SD card. The minimum size I would recommend is a 16 gig, and I would not go bigger than 64. And I would definitely purchase more than 1. Additional extras you can look at, you can also look at a tripod. We have a lot of contacts, so before you make your purchases, whether it be a lens or a camera or a tripod or a hard drive, please pop us an email so that we can advise you correctly.